Montana Territory, 1882. A gunshot tears through the night. A woman stands in the snow, rifle raised, 5 men circling. They're laughing. They think she's weak. They're wrong. Second shot. A man drops. Blood spreads across white. The others step back. They didn't expect this. Nobody expected that this woman, the one Chicago threw away, the one no man wanted, could stand this firm. She's not beautiful the way men expect. She's not gentle. She's not what he ordered, but she's what he needed. And for the next 42 years, on a mountain where only silence and snow exist, they'll prove one thing. Love doesn't come from perfection. It comes from survival, from promises kept, from a desperate letter and a false photograph, from 2 broken people finding each other in the wilderness. This is the story of the mountain, of the woman, and of the lie that started it all. Montana Territory, 1882, the kind of silence that makes a man hear his own heartbeat. Thaddeus Corbett crouched in the snow, rifle steady, breath controlled, eyes on the elk grazing 200 yards downslope. He'd been tracking this bull for 3 days, not because he needed the meat, not because he needed something to do. 17 years on this mountain. 17 years of talking to trees and arguing with ravens. And sometimes, just sometimes, forgetting what his own voice sounded like, the elk lifted its head. Thad didn't move, didn't breathe. The animal stared directly at him, as if it knew, as if it understood that this wasn't about hunger. This was about the fact that winter was coming, and Thad Corbett had realized something terrible. He was tired of being alone, not lonely, alone. There's a difference. Lonely is when you want company. Alone is when you've forgotten what company feels like. When you wake up and make coffee for one, and eat dinner standing up because there's no reason to sit. When you talk yourself through every task, because if you don't speak out loud, you'll forget how. Steady now, his own voice. Rusty, just breathe, the elk bolted. Thad lowered the rifle, didn't fire, because he'd already made his decision. He was going to town, he was going to the post office, and he was going to do something he swore he'd never do. He was going to ask for help. Fort Benton, Montana. 3 days later, the town smelled like horse manure and optimism. That particular combination of mud and ambition that defined every frontier settlement, trying to become something more than a collection of wooden buildings and broken promises. Thad tied his horse outside the general store. Hadn't been to town in 8 months. People stared. Always did the mountain man. The hermit. The ghost who lived up where normal people didn't go. He pushed open the door to the post office. The clerk looked up, blinked. Actually blinked. "Mr. Corbett, I need paper, paper." "And a pen," the clerk fumbled, pulled out a sheet, an envelope. A pen that probably hadn't been used since last Tuesday. Thad sat at the small writing desk in the corner, stared at the blank page. What does a man write when he's asking for a wife? "Dear Madam." No. Too formal. "To whom it may concern." No. Sounds like a business contract. He scratched out the first line. Started again. "My name is Thaddeus Corbett. I am 35 years old. I live in Montana Territory. I have land. I have a cabin. I have a good rifle and enough supplies to last through winter." He stopped. That sounded like he was selling livestock. "I am looking for a woman between the ages of 25 and 35. Someone who can cook, clean, handle solitude. I don't talk much. I don't need someone who talks much either." God, this was pathetic. "I'm not rich. I'm not charming. I don't go to church. I don't dance. But I'm honest. I work hard. And I won't hit you or cheat you or make you regret coming here." He paused. I hope he folded the letter, sealed it, addressed it to the Chicago Matrimonial Agency that he'd seen advertised in a 6-month-old newspaper, handed it to the clerk. "You want this sent?" "Yes." The clerk looked at the address, looked at Thad, looked back at the address. "You're ordering a wife?" Thad didn't answer, just walked out. Because yes, he was. And if that made him desperate or pathetic or whatever word people wanted to use, fine. He'd been called worse. Chicago, Illinois, 2 months earlier, Wilhelmina Schoenberg stood in front of the mirror in her boarding house room. She was not looking at her face. She was looking at her body, all of it 5 feet 9 inches, 215 pounds, shoulders broad as a man's, hips that had never fit into a fashionable dress, hands rough from 12-hour shifts at the meat packing plant. She was 30 years old, and she had never been courted, never been kissed, never been looked at by a man with anything other than pity or disgust or that particular kind of cruelty that people reserve for women who don't fit the shape society demands. Her mother had died last year. Her father 3 years before that. She had no family, no prospects, no future except more shifts at the plant and more nights alone in this room that smelled like boiled cabbage and someone else's disappointment. Mina sat on the bed, opened the drawer of her nightstand. Inside was a photograph her sister, Greta, dead 2 years now from tuberculosis. Greta had been beautiful, slender, delicate. The kind of girl men wrote poems about. Mina picked up the photograph, stared at it, and then she did something she'd been thinking about for 3 weeks. She walked downstairs to the shared parlor, found the newspaper, flipped to the back pages where the advertisements lived Mamida, matrimonial opportunities, Western gentlemen seeking wives, honest women of good character desired, relocation to Montana, Wyoming, Dakota territories. Inquire at Chicago Matrimonial Agency, 47 State Street. Mina read it 3 times. Western gentlemen, honest women, good character. Nothing about beauty, nothing about weight, nothing about fitting into a dress that made you look like a porcelain doll. Just honest, good character. She could do that, she could be that, but she looked down at herself. No man would choose her, not even a desperate man on a mountain in Montana. Men had standards, even lonely men. Even men who'd been alone so long they'd forgotten what a woman's voice sounded like. Mina looked at the photograph of Greta again. And then she made a decision that would change everything. Chicago Matrimonial Agency, 47 State Street. The woman behind the desk was named Mrs. Aldridge, 50-something, tight bun, expression that suggested she'd seen every kind of desperation humanity had to offer and was no longer impressed. Name, Wilhelmina Schoenberg. Age, 30. Mrs. Aldridge looked up, looked Mina up and down. Her expression didn't change. But something flickered, a calculation. A judgment. You understand what this is? Yes, you'll be traveling west, alone, to marry a man you've never met. A man who might be nothing like he describes himself. A man who might be cruel or drunk or violent, or all 3. I understand. And you still want to register? Mina nodded. Mrs. Aldridge pulled out a form. Started writing? Any skills? Cooking, sewing? Yes. Both education? I can read. Write. I speak German and English. Musical ability? Mina hesitated. I play the violin. Mrs. Aldridge's pen stopped. She looked up. You play the violin, my mother taught me. She wrote it down. We'll need a photograph. Mina reached into her bag. Her hand hovered over 2 photographs, one of herself, taken last year, honest, unflattering, true. One of Greta, beautiful, dead, a lie. She pulled out Greta's photograph, handed it to Mrs. Aldridge. This is you? Mina's throat was dry. Yes, Mrs. Aldridge studied the photograph, then studied Mina, then looked back at the photograph. This doesn't look like you. It's an old photograph. I was younger, thinner. The lie hung in the air like smoke. Mrs. Aldridge didn't blink, Miss Schoenberg. If you send a false photograph and a man rejects you upon arrival, this agency is not responsible. You will have no recourse, no refund, no assistance. Do you understand? Mina's hands were shaking. I understand. And you still want me to submit this photograph? Yes, Mrs. Aldridge slid the photograph into the file. Very well. 3 months later, September 14, 1882, the Northern Pacific Railway pulled into Billings Depot at 4 in the afternoon. Mina stepped off the train. 2 suitcases, 1 violin case, a blue traveling dress that was too tight in the shoulders and too short in the hem, because nothing ever fit right. She'd been on the train for 3 days. Hadn't slept more than an hour at a time. had spent most of the journey staring out the window at the landscape that grew emptier and emptier the farther west they went. Montana Territory was nothing like Chicago. No buildings, no crowds, no noise, just space. Endless space, mountains in the distance. Sky so big, it felt like it might swallow her whole. She stood on the platform, heart hammering, because somewhere in this town was a man named Thaddeus Corbett. A man who'd written a letter requesting a wife. A man who expected a woman who looked like the photograph she'd sent. A woman who looked like Greta. Not like her. Mina scanned the platform. They're standing by a horse. Tall, broad-shouldered. Long hair tied back. Beard that looked like it hadn't been trimmed in a decade. He was holding a piece of paper, looking at it. Then looking at the train passengers meeching. Mina's stomach dropped. This was it. This was the moment he'd see her and realize she'd lied. And he'd turn around, get on his horse, leave her here. And she'd have nowhere to go. She picked up her suitcases, started walking toward him. Each step felt like drowning. Thad Corbett looked up, saw her. His expression didn't change, but he didn't move. Mina stopped 3 feet away, Mr. Corbett. He stared at her, not at her face, at her body, at the width of her shoulders, with the size of her hips. The fact that she was nothing, absolutely nothing, like the photograph. 5 seconds of silence. Mina couldn't breathe. I know I don't look like the photograph. Thad's jaw tightened. No, you don't. The photograph was of my sister. She died 2 years ago. I sent her picture because I knew if I sent mine, no one would choose me. She was shaking now. If you want to send me back, I understand. I'll find work here in town. I won't cause trouble. But I came 2,000 miles, and I can cook. I can clean. I can work harder than any woman you'll find. I just need a chance. Thad looked at her, then at the suitcases, then at the violin case. He didn't say anything. Just turned, walked toward his horse. Mina's heart sank. He was leaving. She'd ruined it. She'd lied, and now she was. Thad stopped, looked back over his shoulder. Can you ride a horse? Mina blinked. What? Can you ride a horse? No. I've never. Then you'll learn. It's a 12-hour ride to the cabin. We leave now, or we camp here and leave at dawn. Your choice. Mina stared at him. You're not sending me back? Thad turned to face her fully. I didn't ride 2 days to town to leave empty-handed. You lied. Fine. People lie. But I asked for someone who could handle hard work and solitude. Can you? Yes, then get your things. We're burning daylight. He walked to his horse. Mina stood frozen. He wasn't sending her back. He wasn't sending her back. She grabbed her suitcases, stumbled toward him. Thad was already strapping her luggage to the pack horse. I don't have a side saddle. You'll have to ride like a man. I don't know how to ride at all. You'll figure it out. He mounted his horse, extended a hand down to her. Mina looked at his hand, rough, scarred, strong. She took it. He pulled her up behind him. Hold on. To what? To me. Mina hesitated, then wrapped her arms around his waist. He was solid, warm, smelled like leather and smoke and something else, something clean, like pine trees. Thad kicked the horse into motion. They rode. The first hour was fine. The second hour was uncomfortable. By the third hour, Mina's thighs were screaming. By the fifth hour, she was certain she was going to die. They stopped once, at a creek. Thad watered the horses, handed Mina a canteen without speaking. She drank. He didn't look at her. Just checked the straps on the luggage, adjusted the saddle, moved with the kind of efficiency that came from doing something 10,000 times. How much farther? Mina's voice was hoarse. 7 more hours. 7 more whores. She was going to die. Thad mounted the horse again, extended his hand. Mina took it. They rode. Somewhere around hour 8. Mina fell asleep, not on purpose. Her body just gave up. She slumped against Thad's back, arms still locked around his waist, head resting between his shoulder blades. Thad felt the shift in her weight, glanced back. She was out cold. He adjusted his position slightly, took more of her weight, kept riding, kept one arm back to steady her. When the horse stumbled, didn't wake her. Because if she could fall asleep on a horse after 12 hours of travel and a confrontation about lying, then maybe, just maybe, she could handle what came next. They arrived at the cabin just after midnight. Mina woke when the horse stopped, blinked, realized she'd been asleep against a stranger's back for God knows how long. "We're here." Thad dismounted, reached up for her. Mina tried to swing her leg over the horse. Couldn't. Her legs were locked, frozen, every muscle screaming. Thad didn't just grabbed her by the waist and lifted her down, set her on the ground. Mina's legs gave out. She collapsed. Thad caught her before she hit the dirt. "Easy, I can't. I can't feel my legs. They'll come back. Give it a minute." He helped her to a tree stump, sat her down, went to unload the horses. Mina sat there, in the dark, in the middle of nowhere, Montana, with a man she'd known for 12 hours, and she realized something. She had no idea what she'd just done. The cabin was small, one room, stone fireplace, rough-hewn wooden walls, a bed in one corner, a table and 2 chairs, a few shelves with supplies. That was it. No separate rooms, no privacy, no space. Mina stood in the doorway. Thad was lighting a fire. "This is it?" The words came out before she could stop them. Thad didn't look up. "This is it. There's only one room." "Yes." "One bed." "Yes." Mina's chest tightened. "You said I'd have my own room until we married." Now Thad looked up. "I'll sleep outside." "Outside? I've done it for 17 years. One more season won't kill me." He stood, brushed ash off his hands. "You take the bed. I'll take the ground. When winter comes, we'll figure something else out. But until we're married, I'm not touching you." That was the agreement. "I keep my agreements." Mina stared at him. This man, this stranger, this mountain hermit who'd just ridden 12 hours and was now offering to sleep outside in September cold because she'd asked for privacy. "Thank you." Thad nodded. "Walk to the door. There's food in the chest. Help yourself. I'll be back at dawn." He left. Just left. Mina stood alone in the cabin, listening to the fire crackle, listening to the absolute silence of the Montana wilderness. And for the first time in 3 days, she cried. Not because she was sad, because she'd just met the first man in her life who'd kept a promise. Dawn came cold. Mina woke to the sound of chopping. She sat up, disoriented. Right, Montana. Cabin. Mountain man husband who wasn't actually her husband yet. She stood. Every muscle in her body screamed. Walked to the door. Opened it. Thad was outside. Splitting wood. Shirtless. Mina froze because, well, the man was built like he'd been carved from the mountain itself. All shoulders and back muscles and scars. So many scars. He brought the axe down. Split the log clean through. Tossed the pieces onto the pile. Didn't notice her watching. Mina cleared her throat. Thad turned, saw her. Reached for his shirt. Pulled it on. "You're awake." "Yes." "Coffee's by the fire. I'll be done here in 10 minutes. Then I'll show you around." He went back to chopping. Mina went back inside. Poured herself coffee from the pot hanging over the fire. Sat at the table. Looked around the cabin in daylight. It was sparse, functional. No decoration, no softness. Just the bare minimum needed to survive. But it was clean. The floor was swept. The dishes were stacked neatly. The bed was made with military precision. This wasn't the home of a lazy man. This was the home of a man who'd learned to survive alone. The door opened. Thad stepped in. Shirt now buttoned. Hair tied back. "Ready?" "For what?" "I need to know what you can do, what you can't, what you need to learn now. We have about 6 weeks before the first snow. You need to be ready." Mina set down her coffee. "Ready for what?" Thad looked at her. Really looked at her. "Winter up here isn't like winter in Chicago. If you're not prepared, you die. It's that simple. So, can you chop wood?" I've never tried." "Can you shoot?" "No." "Can you dress a deer?" "No." "Can you start a fire without matches?" "No." Thad nodded slowly. "Can you cook?" "Yes. That I can do good. You're in charge of food. I'm in charge of everything else. But you're going to learn the everything else. Because if something happens to me, you need to survive on your own." Mina stood. "You think something will happen to you?" "I think it's stupid to assume it won't. Bears. Wolves. Bandits. A bad fall. Plenty of ways to die up here. And I'm not leaving you helpless. He walked to the wall, pulled down a second axe. Smaller than his, handed it to her. Let's start with wood. Mina had never chopped wood in her life. Within 5 minutes, she understood why. It was hard, not just physically. Technically, you had to hit the log at exactly the right angle, with exactly the right force. If you hit wrong, the axe bounced. If you hit too soft, it stuck. Mina swung, missed, swung again, stuck. Thad watched from where he was stacking firewood. Said nothing. Mina gritted her teeth, swung again. The log split. Barely, but it split tight. She looked up at Thad. He nodded. Again she swung. Haganot, Haganot. By the 10th log, her hands were blistering. By the 20th, she was sweating through her dress. By the 30th, she wanted to scream, but she didn't stop, because Thaddeus Corbett was watching. And she'd be damned if she gave him a reason to send her back. Finally, he walked over. That's enough for today. Mina looked at the pile of wood, then at the massive stack Thad had already split. I didn't even make a dent. You made 30. Yesterday you made 0. That's progress. He took the axe from her hands, looked at her palms, blisters, raw, bleeding in one spot. Tightened. You should have stopped. You didn't tell me to stop. You should have known. I didn't come here to be soft. Thad looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time since she'd arrived, something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile, but close. Come on. I'll show you how to bandage those. Inside the cabin, Thad pulled out a wooden box from under the bed. Medical supplies. Bandages. A bottle of something that smelled like it could strip paint. He gestured for her hands. Mina extended them. Thad took her right hand, turned it palm up. His hands were rough, calloused, but his touch was gentle. He poured the liquid over the blisters. Mina hissed, "It'll burn for a minute." "It's burning now, then it's working." He wrapped her palm in clean cloth, tied it off, moved to the left hand, repeated the process. Mina watched his face. He was focused, methodical, like this was a task that required precision. Like she was something worth fixing carefully. "Why do you live up here?" The question came out before she could stop it. Thad's hands paused. "That's a long story. We have time. Not one I'm interested in telling." He finished wrapping her hand. "Let go. Stood dinners at sundown. I'll hunt. You cook whatever I bring back. Deal?" "Deal." Thad grabbed his rifle, walked to the door. Stopped, turned back. "You did good today." With the wood. Then he was gone. Mina sat at the table, staring at her bandaged hands, and she realized something. He'd complimented her. Thaddeus Corbett, the mountain hermit who barely spoke, had complimented her. Maybe, just maybe, this was going to work. That night, Thad brought back 2 rabbits. Mina skinned them, cleaned them, roasted them over the fire with wild onions and herbs she'd found growing near the cabin. They ate in silence. Thad finished his plate, stood, reached for a second helping. "Ate he that too?" Mina watched. "Is it good?" Thad looked at her. "It's the best meal I've had in 17 years. He didn't say anything else. Just walked outside with his bedroll. Left her alone in the cabin. Mina cleaned the dishes, sat on the bed, looked around the space that was now hers, not hers. Maybe eventually. She reached for her violin case, hadn't played since Chicago, wasn't sure if she should. But the silence was too loud. She rose into the bow, tuned the strings, started to play Brahms' Lullaby, the piece her mother used to play when Mina couldn't sleep. The notes filled the cabin, soft, sad, beautiful. Outside, Thad was spreading his bedroll on the ground. He stopped, listened, didn't move, just stood there in the dark, listening to music he hadn't heard in almost 2 decades. And for the first time since the war ended, since his brother died, since he climbed this mountain to escape, Thaddeus Corbett felt something other than emptiness. He felt hope. The next morning, Mina woke to find something new outside her door. A bookshelf, 3 shelves, pine wood, hand-planed, smooth, no note, no explanation, just a bookshelf. She walked outside. Thad was already by the woodpile, You made this? He didn't look up. You said you read. Figured you'd need somewhere to put books. When did you make it? Last night, after dinner, after she'd played violin. After he'd gone outside to sleep, he'd made her a bookshelf. Mina ran her hand along the edge. The wood was perfect, sanded smooth. Corners fitted precisely. This wasn't thrown together. This was crafted, it's beautiful. Thad still didn't look at her, it's functional. But Mina noticed, the edges, they were carved. Just slightly, a pattern. Vines, leaves, purely decorative, purely unnecessary. Purely. For her, she looked at him. He was already walking away. Best get that wood chopped. We're losing daylight. Mina smiled, picked up the axe, and got to work. 2 weeks passed. Mina learned to chop wood without bleeding. Learned to start a fire with flint and steel. Learned to identify animal tracks. Learned to shoot. Badly. But shoot. Thad taught her everything with the same quiet patience. No criticism, no impatience. Just repetition, again, until she got it right. They fell into a rhythm. He hunted. She cooked. He chopped wood. She stacked it. He maintained the cabin. She made it. Livable, little things, wildflowers in a jar on the table. Curtains made from an old sheet. The books she'd brought from Chicago. Now arranged on the shelf he'd made. Thad never commented, but she noticed him looking. Noticed him sitting at the table instead of eating outside. Noticed him washing his hands before meals. Noticed him trying. Every evening she played violin. Every evening he sat outside and listened. They didn't talk much, but they didn't need to. Because something was building between them. Not love, not yet, but recognition. The recognition that maybe, just maybe, they'd both found something neither of them had known they needed. Week 3. Middle of the night. Mina woke to a sound, not wind, not wolves. Something. Bigger. She sat up, listened. Scratching. At the door of the meat shed she stood. Grabbed the rifle Thad had left by the bed. Crept to the window. Looked out. Bare, grisly. Massive, trying to break into the shed where they stored dried meat. Mina's heart hammered. Thad was outside. Asleep. Unaware. She could wake him. Should wake him. But she'd been practicing. She loaded the rifle. Opened the door. The bear turned. Looked at her. She raised the rifle. Get. The bear didn't move. Get out of here. Nothing. Mina fired. Not at the bear. Above it. The shot echoed across the mountain. The bear reared up, roared. Started toward her. Mina's hand shook. She reloaded. Faster than she'd ever reloaded in practice. Raised the rifle again. And then Thad was there, between her and the bear. Rifle raised. He fired once. The bear dropped. Silenced. Thad lowered his rifle. Turned to Mina. You okay? She was shaking. I tried to scare it away. I heard. I didn't mean to. You did exactly right. You didn't panic. You didn't run. You stood your ground and you warned it. That's more than most people would do. He looked at the bear, then back at her. But next time. Wake me first. I didn't want to bother you. Thad's expression shifted something. Softer. Listen to me. It was the first time he'd used her name. If there's danger. Wake me? That's not bothering me. That's what I'm here for. Mina looked up at him. To protect me? To protect both of us. He walked to the bear. Checked that it was dead. Started dragging it away from the cabin. Mina stood in the doorway. Still shaking, but not from fear, from the realization that she hadn't been alone. When the danger came, she hadn't been alone. The next morning, Thad skinned the bear. Mina watched. What are you going to do with it? Meat, hide, claws? He pulled one free, held it up, 6 inches long, curved, sharp. You killed it. You get the trophy. He handed it to her. Mina took it, stared at it. I didn't kill it. You did. You faced it down. That's close enough. He went back to work. Mina held the claw. Felt its weight, sharpness, and something in her chest. Shifted. She'd faced a grizzly bear and survived. Maybe, just maybe. She was stronger than she thought. That evening, they ate bear meat for the first time. Mina had roasted it with rosemary and garlic. It was tough, gamey, but not bad. Thad ate 3 helpings. After dinner, he sat at the table instead of leaving immediately. Mina was washing dishes. "Can I ask you something?" Her voice was quiet. Thad looked up. "Go ahead. Why did you come to this mountain?" Long silence. Thad's jaw worked. "I was in the war." "The war between the states?" "Yes. Union Army. Cavalry." Mina dried her hands. Sat across from him. "What happened?" "My brother and I enlisted together. He was younger. 19. I was 20. I promised my mother I'd keep him safe." Thad's voice was flat, empty. Battle of Shiloh, 1862. "We got separated in the fighting. I looked for him for 3 days after. He stopped, found him in a field hospital. Gut shot. He died holding my hand." Mina's throat tightened. "I'm sorry. I came back from the war. Everyone wanted to shake my hand. Call me a hero. Talk about sacrifice and duty." Thad's hands curled into fists. I couldn't stand it. So I left. Came here, where nobody knew me. Nobody expected anything. Nobody looked at me like I was supposed to be proud of watching my brother die. He stood. That's why I'm here. That's why I'll stay here. And that's why I don't go to town." He walked to the door. "Stopped, you asked. Now you know." He left. Mina sat at the table, listening to the silence, understanding now why he was so quiet. Why he lived alone. Why he'd written that letter, asking for someone who could handle solitude. Because Thaddeus Corbett wasn't hiding from the world. He was hiding from himself. October came. The aspen trees turned gold. The nights grew colder. Thad stopped sleeping outside, not in the cabin, but in the shed. Where there was at least a roof, Mina didn't argue. Because she could hear the wind at night now, could feel winter coming. One evening, she was chopping wood. Thad was repairing the roof of the shed. She swung the axe. Hit the log wrong. It split. But the axe kept going. Straight into her boot, Mina screamed. Thad was off the roof in seconds. "Let me see. I'm fine. Let me see." He pulled her boot off. Blood. Not terrible, but enough. He carried her inside, sat her on the bed. Cleaned the wound. Wrapped it. "You're going to stay off that foot for 3 days. I can't. There's work. I'll do the work." "You stay off the foot, Thad." "Mina." He looked at her. "Please." That word. "Please." She nodded. Okay, for 3 days, Mina sat, write her books, played violin, watched Thad do both their jobs, watched him cook. Badly. Watched him try to clean, unsuccessfully. Watched him come in every evening exhausted but never complaining. On the 3rd day, he checked her foot. Healing well. "You can walk on it tomorrow." "Thank you for..." "What?" "For taking care of me." Thad stood. Looked away. That's what people do. When they care about someone, the words hung in the air. Care. About someone. He walked out before she could respond. But Mina sat on the bed, holding those words. Turning them over in her mind. He cared about her. Thaddeus Corbett cared. About her. November arrived with the first snow. Just a dusting, but enough to know. Winter was here. Thad came in from checking the traps. "We're ready. Food, wood, supplies. We'll make it through." Mina was stirring stew. "And in the spring?" "In the spring we figure out what comes next." He sat at the table. Mina brought him a bowl, sat across from him. "What do you want to come next?" Thad looked at her. "I don't know. I spent 17 years not thinking about the future." "I'm out of practice. Do you? Do you regret writing that letter?" "No." The answer came fast. "Certain? No. You're good to have here." Mina smiled. "Good to have here. That's romantic." Thad's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "I'm not good at romantic, I noticed, but I'm good at honest. And honestly, I'm glad you came, even if you lied about the photograph." Mina's smile faded. "I'm sorry about that. Don't be. If you'd sent your real photograph, I probably would have chosen you anyway." She looked up sharply. "What?" "I didn't want pretty. I wanted capable. And you're the most capable person I've ever met." He stood, walked to the door. "Finish your stew. I'll be back in an hour." He left. Mina sat at the table, staring at her bowl, processing. He would have chosen her anyway, not despite her body, but because of everything else. For the first time in 30 years, Wilhelmina Schoenberg felt seen. That night, the temperature dropped below freezing. Thad came in from the shed at midnight, shivering. Mina woke. You're freezing. I'm fine. You're going to die of cold. I've slept in worse, Thad. Please. Just sleep by the fire. I'll stay in the bed. We'll keep the distance. He hesitated. I gave you my word. Separate space until we marry, and I'm giving you permission to break it. Because I'm not letting you freeze to death. For the sake of my comfort. Long's silence. Finally, Thad nodded. He spread his bedroll by the fireplace. Lay down. Mina stayed in the bed. They were in the same room. For the first time since she arrived, she listened to him breathe, listened to the fire crackle, and felt safe. For the first time in her life. Completely safe. The next morning, Mina woke first. Thad was still asleep by the fire. She watched him. His face was different. In sleep. Less guarded. The lines around his eyes softer. He looked peaceful. She got up quietly, started coffee, started breakfast. Thad woke to the smell of bacon. Sat up, looked at her. Morning. He stood. Folded his bedroll. I'll move back to the shed tonight. Why? Because that was the agreement, Thad. It's going to get colder. And I don't mind. Having you here, he looked at her. Really looked. You sure? I'm sure. He nodded slowly. All right, then I'll stay. And just like that, everything changed. They were living together now. Really living together. Sharing space. Chores, sharing meals. Sharing life. And neither of them was sure what that meant yet. But both of them knew. It meant something. November became December. The snow didn't stop. It fell and fell. And kept falling until the world outside the cabin disappeared under 3 feet of white silence. Mina had never seen anything like it in Chicago. Snow meant dirty slush, gray streets, the constant noise of the city muffled but never gone. Here it meant erasure. The mountain vanished. The trees became ghosts. The sky and ground merged into one endless white. And the silence, God. The silence, it pressed against the cabin walls like something alive. Mina stood at the window one morning, watching the snow fall. Thad was behind her, sharpening his hunting knife. How long does this last, the snow? Until April. Sometimes May. Mina turned. We're going to be trapped here for 5 months? We're not trapped. We're prepared. There's a difference. He tested the blade against his thumb. Nodded. Set it aside. Trapped means you can't survive. Prepared means you can. We can, he stood. Walked to the door. Started pulling on his heavy coat. I'm checking the traps. Back in 3 hours. It's a whiteout. I've walked this mountain. Blind, I'll be fine. He opened the door. Wind howled in. Snow sprayed across the floor. Thad, he stopped. Looked back. Mina wanted to say, be careful. Don't die. I need you. But what came out was, don't forget the rifle. His mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Yes, ma'am. He left. The door closed. And Mina was alone with the silence again. 3 hours became 4. 4 became 5. By hour 6, Mina was pacing. By hour 7, she had her coat on. By hour 8, she was standing at the door with the rifle, ready to go after him. And then the door opened. Thad stumbled in, covered in snow. Face red from cold. But alive. Mina exhaled. Didn't realize she'd been holding her breath. You're late. Trap got jammed. Took longer to fix. He dropped 2 rabbits on the table. Started peeling off layers. Were you worried? No liar. Mina's cheeks flushed. I wasn't worried. I was. Concerned. There's a difference. Now Thad did smile, actually smiled. Concerned. Right. He hung his coat by the fire. Rubbed his hands together. Mina crossed her arms. You said 3 hours. I said, about 3 hours. About doesn't mean double. I didn't have a watch. You have the sun. Couldn't see the sun through the snow. Then you shouldn't have gone. Thad stopped, looked at her, really looked. You were worried, I just said. I heard what you said. But your hands are shaking, and you're standing by the door with a loaded rifle. So, you were worried. Mina looked down. Her hands were shaking. I don't know what I'd do if something happened to you. The words came out small. Kie true. Thad walked over, took the rifle from her hands, set it aside. Nothing's going to happen to me. You don't know that. I know I've survived this mountain for 17 years. I'm not planning to stop now. He touched her shoulder just briefly, then pulled back. I'll try to be on time from now on. You promise? I promise. And somehow Mina believed him. That night, Mina cooked the rabbits. They ate by the fire. Thad was unusually quiet, more quiet than usual, which was saying something. What is it? Mina asked. What's what? You're distant. I'm always distant. More than usual. Thad set down his fork, stared into the fire. Today. When I was out there, I realized something. What? If something did happen to me, you'd be alone, completely alone, and you don't know enough yet to survive a full winter by yourself. Mina's stomach tightened. So tomorrow, I'm teaching you everything. The trap lines. The emergency supplies I've buried in 3 locations. How to signal for help if you need it. Where the nearest cabin is. Who to trust in Fort Benton if you have to go there, Thad. I'm not planning on dying. But I'm also not planning on leaving you helpless. He looked at her. You came here trusting me to protect you. The best way I can do that is making sure you can protect yourself. Mina nodded slowly. Okay. They finished eating in silence. But later, when Thad was asleep by the fire, Mina lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what he'd said. If something happened to me, the thought terrified her, not because she couldn't survive alone, but because she didn't want to. The next 3 weeks were intense. Thad taught her everything. How to read the weather by the color of the sky. How to find water under ice. How to build a snow shelter if she got caught in a storm. How to shoot accurately at distance. How to skin a deer in under 10 minutes. How to set a broken bone. Mina learned it all, slowly, painfully. But she learned, and Thad never lost patience. Never raised his voice. Just repeated again, until she got it right. One afternoon they were practicing shooting. Target was a mark on a tree 100 yards away. Mina fired. Missed. You're flinching. I'm not flinching. You're closing your eyes before you pull the trigger. That's flinching. Mina reloaded. Aimed, fired. Missed again. She lowered the rifle. I can't do this. Yes, you can. I've tried 20 times. Then try 21. Thad, he walked over. Stood behind her, raised the rifle. She did. He adjusted her stance. Moved her elbow slightly. Now. Breathe in. Exhale halfway. Hold. Squeeze. Don't pull. His voice was right by her ear. Calm. Steady. Mina breathed, exhaled. Held, squeezed, the rifle fired. Hit the mark. Dead center. Mina lowered the gun. Stared at the tree. I did it. You did it. She turned. Thad was smiling. Actually smiling. And Mina realized he was proud of her. Not proud like a teacher. Proud like something else, something deeper. December 15th. They'd been snowed in for 3 weeks. Mina was reading by the fire. Thad was carving something from a piece of wood. He'd been working on it for days, hiding it whenever she looked. Finally, Mina set down her book. What are you making? Nothing. It's clearly something. It's a surprise. For who? Thad didn't answer. Just kept carving. Mina watched him. Watched the way his hands moved. Precise. Confident. Watched the way his brow furrowed in concentration. Can I ask you something? Thad looked up. Sure, do you? Do you ever regret not marrying before? Before the mountain? He set down the knife. I was engaged once. Mina blinked. You were? Right after the war. Her name was Catherine. We grew up together. Everyone expected us to marry. What happened? She saw me after I came back. After Shiloh. After everything. And she couldn't look at me the same way. Thad's voice was flat. She said, I was different. Angry, broken. She broke off the engagement a month later. I'm sorry, don't be. She was right. I was broken. Still am in some ways. But I stopped pretending I wasn't. That's why I left. He picked up the carving again. I decided if I couldn't be fixed, I'd at least be honest. Mina leaned forward. You're not broken. You've known me 3 months. That's long enough to know you're not broken. Hurt. Yes. But not broken. Thad looked at her. Something shifted in his expression. You really believe that? I do. Long silence. Then Thad went back to carving. But Mina noticed. His hands were steadier. December 20th. Mina woke to the sound of pounding on the door. Not knocking, pounding. She sat up. Thad was already on his feet. Rifle in hand. Who is it? He called. Open the damn door, Corbett, a man's voice. Angry, slurred, drunk. Thad's jaw tightened. Stay in the bed. He opened the door. 3 men stumbled in rough, dirty, armed trappers. Maybe, or worse. The one in front grinned. Well. Heard the hermit finally got himself a wife. Wanted to see if it was true. He looked past Thad, saw Mina. His grin widened. And she's a big one. Guess beggars can't be choosers. Hey, Corbett? Thad stepped between them. Get out. We just got here, and now you're leaving. Not very hospitable. I'm not very hospitable. Leave, the man's expression darkened. We've been traveling for 2 days. Need to warm up. Need food. You got plenty? You've got 2 seconds to turn around? Or what? Thad raised the rifle. Or I shoot you. The man laughed. You wouldn't. Thad fired. Into the floor. Right between the man's feet. The laughter stopped. Next one's in your leg. One after that's in your chest. Now, get out. The 3 men backed toward the door. You're crazy. You're still here. They left. Ran. Basically, Thad closed the door, locked it, turned to Mina. She was standing now, holding the knife from the table. You okay? She nodded. You? Fine. He walked to the window, watched until the men disappeared into the trees. They'll be back. When? Don't know. But men like that, they don't forget. He turned to her. From now on, you keep the knife on you at all times. And if I'm not here, don't open the door for anyone, Thad. Anyone. You understand? Yes. He walked back to the fire, sat. His hands were shaking, just slightly. Mina sat next to him. Thank you. For that, don't thank me. That's just what you do. Most men wouldn't. Most men are cowards. He looked at her. I'm not going to let anyone hurt you. I don't care who they are. I don't care how many there are. They touch you, they die. That's it. The certainty in his voice, the coldness. It should have scared her, but it didn't. Because she believed him, completely. Christmas Eve, Mina woke before dawn. That was already up. Feeding the fire. Morning. She stood. Stretched. What day is it? December 24th, Christmas Eve, I guess so. Thad didn't sound particularly interested. Mina walked to the window. The snow had stopped. Finally, the sky was clear. She turned back. Do you celebrate Christmas? Haven't in 17 years. Why not? Seems pointless when you're alone. Mina nodded slowly. Well, you're not alone this year. Thad looked up. What are you saying? I'm saying, if you'll let me, I'd like to make tomorrow special, Mina. Not elaborate. Just nice, please. He studied her, then nodded. Okay. Mina smiled. Then don't come back until noon. Tomorrow. I need time to prepare. Where am I supposed to go? Check the traps. Hunt. I don't know. Just give me space. Thad stood. You're serious? Completely. He grabbed his coat. All right. But if you burn down the cabin, I won't burn down the cabin. Just saying. He left. Mina waited until he was out of sight. Then got to work. She spent all day transforming the cabin. Pine branches cut from trees near the clearing, arranged on the mantel, tied with strips of red fabric torn from her oldest petticoat, candles. Every single one they had, placed on every surface. And the food. She'd been saving ingredients for weeks, hiding them in the bottom of the flour barrel where Thad never looked. Pfeffernuss, the German spice cookies her mother used to make. She mixed the dough by hand, rolled it, cut it, baked it in the small Dutch oven by the fire, the cabin filled with the smell of cinnamon and cloves and something else. Home. It smelled like home. By evening, everything was ready. Mina stood back, looked at what she'd created. It wasn't much, but it was something. A celebration in the middle of nowhere. A reminder that even here, even in the cold and the isolation, there could be beauty. She changed into her nicest dress, brushed her hair, pinned it up, waited. Thad came back just after sunset, opened the door, stopped, didn't move. Just stared at the pine branches, the candles, the cookies cooling on the table, at Mina standing by the fire, in a blue dress he'd never seen before. Mina, his voice was broken. Merry Christmas. Thad walked in slowly, set down his rifle, pulled off his coat, but his eyes never left the room. You did all this? I did. Why? Because. Because you deserve to have Christmas. Even if you think you don't. Thad walked to the mantel, touched one of the pine branches. I haven't seen. I haven't had. He stopped, turned to her. In Norway. Before the war. My mother used to decorate like this. Branches and candles and those cookies. She made those too, I know. You mentioned it once, I did? You did. So I tried to recreate it. Thad's eyes were bright, not crying. But close, thank you, you're welcome. He looked at the table. What's for dinner? Venison roast, potatoes, carrots, and pie for dessert. Pie, apple, well, dried apple. But still, Thad shook his head, smiled. You're something else. They ate, slowly, talking more than they ever had, about memories. About childhood, about the things they missed from before, and for the first time since she'd arrived. Mina saw Thad relaxed, not guarded, not closed off, just present. After dinner he stood. I have something for you. What? He walked to his pack, pulled out the thing he'd been carving for weeks, handed it to her. A chair. No, not a chair. A music stand, small, portable, beautifully carved, for your violin. So you don't have to balance the music on your knee. Mina ran her fingers over the wood. It was perfect, every detail, every curve. Thad. This is beautiful. It's functional. It's art. He shrugged. Maybe a little of both. Mina set it down, walked to him, and without thinking, hugged him. Thad froze, didn't move, didn't breathe. Just stood there with this woman in his arms and had absolutely no idea what to do. Until slowly, he hugged her back, just for a moment, then pulled away. You should play something. Use the stand. Mina nodded. Too emotional to speak. She picked up her violin, set the music on the new stand, began to play. A Christmas Carol, Silent Night, her mother's favorite. Thad sat by the fire listening. And for the first time in 17 years, Thaddeus Corbett didn't feel alone. He felt home. After the music ended, they sat in silence. Finally, Thad spoke. Mina, yes? There's a word, in Norwegian. Koselig. It means. It's hard to translate. But it's the feeling of being warm when the world is cold. Of being safe when everything outside is dangerous. Of being home. Even when you're far from where you started. He gestured to the cabin. What you did. This is Koselig. Mina smiled. In German. We have a word too. Geborgenheit. It means feeling protected, feeling like you belong, feeling held. She looked at him. What we have. This is Geborgenheit. Thad held her gaze. And something passed between them, something, unspoken, something. True, Mina, I need to tell you something, okay? I know we haven't known each other long, and I know this arrangement was supposed to be practical. But, he took a breath, but somewhere along the way, you stopped. You stopped being a transaction and started being you. Mina's heart hammered. What are you saying? I'm saying, I'd like to marry you. For real. Not because I need help. Not because we made an agreement. But because I don't want to imagine this life without you in it. Mina couldn't breathe. You mean that? I don't say things I don't mean. Neither do I. She stood. Walked to him, then yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Thad stood too. They faced each other, and then slowly, carefully. He kissed her. It was gentle, tentative. The kiss of two people who'd forgotten how. But it was perfect. When they pulled apart, Mina was crying. I didn't think anyone would ever. I know. I'm not what men want. You're what I want. I'm fat. I'm too tall. You're strong. You're brave. You're smart. You face down grizzly bears. You play violin like an angel. You make me feel like maybe I'm not as broken as I thought. He touched her face. You're everything. Everything I didn't know I needed. Mina kissed him again, harder this time. And for the first time in 30 years, she felt beautiful. They decided to wait until January to officially marry. Wanted the circuit preacher to come through. Make it legal. Proper. But from that night forward, everything changed. They still slept separately, but the distance between them Shrank. Thad started sitting closer to her during meals, started talking more to her, started touching her, small things, a hand on her shoulder when he passed, fingers brushing hers when they both reached for the same thing. Little moments that said, I see you, choose you. I want you here. January 2nd, Thad went to Fort Benton, needed supplies, needed to arrange for the preacher. Mina stayed behind. I'll be back by dark. Promise? Promise. He kissed her forehead. Left. Mina watched him go. Then went back inside, started preparing dinner, humming to herself, happy, actually happy, until the door opened. Mina turned. Thad? You forget. It wasn't Thad. It was a man she'd never seen before, old, thin, dressed in black, with eyes that made her skin crawl. Wilhelmina Schoenberg? Her blood ran cold. Who are you? The man smiled. I'm Pastor Wilhelm Schoenberg. Your father? Mina stared. That's not possible. I assure you it is. My father died 4 years ago. Your stepfather died. I am your real father. He stepped inside, closed the door, surprised. Mina backed away. Get out. Is that any way to greet family? You're not my family. I'm the man who gave you life. That makes me family. He looked around the cabin. So this is where you've been hiding, with some mountain savage. How? Disappointing. How did you find me? I've been looking for you for months. Ever since your mother died. She had certain debts that now fall to you. I don't owe you anything. Oh, but you do, you see. Your mother, she borrowed money from me to raise you, to feed you, to keep you alive. And now that she's gone, that debt transfers. Mina's hands clenched. I don't believe you, believe what you want. But I have the documents. Signed. Witnessed. Legal. He pulled papers from his coat, dropped them on the table. $2,000 plus interest. That's what you owe. Mina looked at the papers. They looked real. I don't have $2,000. Then you'll come back to Chicago with me. Work it off. Shouldn't take more than 10 years. I'm not going anywhere with you. You don't have a choice. Yes, I do. You're an unmarried woman, living in sin with a man. If I report you to the territorial authorities, they'll have you arrested for indecency, send you back east, and your mountain man, they'll run him off his land. He leaned forward. So, you come with me, or I destroy both of your lives. Your choice. Mina felt sick. When? We leave tomorrow. Pack your things. I need time too, tomorrow. Or I go to Fort Benton tonight and file the report. He walked to the door. I'll be back at dawn. Be ready. He left. Mina stood frozen, shaking. No. This couldn't be happening. Not now, not when she'd finally found something good. She looked at the papers. They had signatures, dates, official seals. They looked legitimate. What if they were real? What if she did owe this money? What if she had to leave? The door opened again. Mina spun. Thad. He took one look at her face. What happened? I. She couldn't get the words out. Thad crossed to her. Mina. Talk to me, my father. My real father. He's here. He says I owe him money. Says if I don't go back to Chicago with him, he'll report us. Get you kicked off your land. Thad's expression went cold. Where is he? Gone. He's coming back tomorrow. What did you tell him? Nothing. I didn't know what to say. Thad took her hands. Look at me. She did. You're not going anywhere. You understand? You're not leaving. But if he reports, he's not going to report anything. How do you know? Because I'm going to make sure of it. Thad, do you trust me? Mina nodded. Then trust me now. I'll handle this. He pulled on his coat. Where are you going? To have a conversation with your father. Thad, don't. But he was already gone. Thad found Pastor Wilhelm Schoenberg in a boarding house in Fort Benton. Kicked open the door. The old man looked up. Mr. Corbett, I presume. Thad grabbed him by the collar, slammed him against the wall. You go near her again, I'll kill you. The pastor smiled. Such violence. I see why Wilhelmina was drawn to you. She always did prefer brutes to brains. Thad's grip tightened. I've killed men before. Don't think I won't do it again. I'm sure you have. But killing me won't erase the debt. There is no debt. The papers say otherwise. The papers are fake. The pastor's smile widened. Prove it. Thad threw him to the floor. How much? What? How much to make you go away? I told Wilhelmina. 2,000. I don't have 2,000, but I have 300 in gold, and a cabin full of furs, worth another 500. That's 800. Take it and leave. Tonight, the pastor stood, brushed himself off. 800 is substantially less than 2,000. It's also substantially more than you'll get if I put a bullet in your head. Long silence. Finally, the pastor nodded. Very well. 800. But I want it now. You'll get it when you're on the stage out of town. I want it now. Thad pulled his knife. I'm not negotiating. The pastor raised his hands. Fine, fine. The stage. It leaves at dawn. Be on it. Thad walked to the door. Stopped, and if I ever see you near her again, if I even hear you've written to her, I will hunt you down, and I will end you. That's not a threat. That's a promise. He left. Thad got back to the cabin just before midnight. Mina was still awake, pacing. She ran to him. What happened? He's leaving. Tomorrow morning, how I paid him? Paid him? Thad, you don't have. I have enough. That money was for supplies. For seeds for spring. For I don't care. He took her face in his hands. Listen to me. I would give everything I own, everything I've worked for, to keep you safe. The money doesn't matter. The furs don't matter. You matter. Mina's eyes filled with tears. But no buts. You're staying here. With me. That's final. She threw her arms around him, sobbed into his chest. I thought I'd lose you. You're not losing me. I'm not letting you go, promise? Eyes. Promise. They stood like that, holding each other. Until the fire burned low. Until Mina's tears dried. Until both of them believed. Maybe, just maybe, they'd be okay. The next morning, Thad rode to Fort Benton, watched Pastor Schoenberg board the stage, handed him a bag of gold and furs. Count it if you want. The pastor did. Nodded. Pleasure doing business. It's not business. It's extortion. Call it what you want. You got what you wanted. I got what I wanted. The stage pulled away. Thad watched until it disappeared. Then rode home. When he got back, Mina was outside, chopping wood. She stopped when she saw him. Is he gone? He's gone. She dropped the axe, ran to him. Thad dismounted. Caught her. It's over. Are you sure? I'm sure. Mina pulled back, looked at him. What did it cost? Doesn't matter, Thad. It doesn't matter. We'll make it back. We always do. She kissed him hard. Desperate, grateful. When they pulled apart, Thad smiled. So. About that wedding. What about it? Let's do it. Soon. I don't want to wait anymore. Neither do I. Good. He took her hand. Then let's get married. January 6, 1883. The circuit preacher rode through a snowstorm to reach them. The ceremony was in the cabin. No guests, no music, just Thad and Mina. And the preacher who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Do you, Thaddeus Corbett, take Wilhelmina Schoenberg to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. Do you, Wilhelmina Schoenberg, take Thaddeus Corbett to be your lawfully wedded husband? Mina looked at Thad, this man. This quiet, broken, beautiful man who'd given up everything to keep her safe. I do. Then, by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. The preacher closed his book. You may kiss the bride. Thad pulled Mina close, kissed her. Not gently this time, not tentatively, but with certainty, with promise, with the knowledge that this was forever. When they pulled apart, Mina was crying. Egan. I can't believe this is real. It's real. I can't believe you chose me. Thad wiped her tears. I can't believe you chose me. I'd choose you every time. Good. Because you're stuck with me now. Mina laughed. I can live with that. The preacher cleared his throat. I'll just see myself out. He left. Thad and Mina stood in the cabin. Alone. Finally, so Thad said so. Mina said, what now? Now. Now we live. Thad smiled. I like that plan. He picked her up. Mina squealed, what are you doing? Carrying my wife to bed. Thad, it's tradition. You don't care about tradition. I'm starting to. He carried her to the bed. Set her down gently, kissed her forehead. I love you. It was the first time he'd said it. Mina's breath caught. Say it again. I love you. Again. I love you, Wilhelmina Corbett. Mina pulled him down. I love you too, that night. For the first time, they were truly together. And it was perfect. Not because it was flawless, but because it was theirs. Two people who'd been told they weren't enough, finding out they were everything. February brought the deepest cold, the kind that made your lungs burn when you breathed, the kind that turned spit to ice before it hit the ground. Mina and Thad settled into married life, which meant nothing changed. And everything changed. They still woke before dawn, still chopped wood and checked traps and cooked over the fire. But now, Thad kissed her before he left each morning. Now Mina touched his shoulder when she passed. Now they slept in the same bed, bodies curved together for warmth. For more than warmth, it was good better than good. It was the kind of happiness Mina had stopped believing existed, the kind where you wake up and think, this is real, this is mine, this is worth every hard thing that came before. February 14th. Mina woke to find Thad already dressed, packing his rifle. Where are you going? Fort Benton. In this cold? Need to trade furs. Get supplies for spring. Can't it wait? Not if we want seeds for the garden. Mina sat up. How long will you be gone? 2 days, maybe 3 if the weather turns. 2 days. Alone? Mina had been alone before, many times since coming here. But something about this felt different. Wrong, Thad, he turned. I don't like this. I'll be careful, Obese, not what I mean. Then what? Mina couldn't explain it. Just a feeling. A cold knot in her stomach that said, don't go, never mind. Just come back safe. Thad walked over, kissed her. Long, deep, I always do. He left. Mina listened to his horse fade into the distance, and the knot in her stomach tightened. Day one alone was fine. Mina kept busy, baked bread, mended clothes, practiced shooting, played violin until her fingers cramped. By evening she was exhausted, fell asleep early. Woke in the middle of the night to voices. Outside, men's voices. Mina sat up, heart pounding, grabbed the rifle from beside the bed, crept to the window, looked out. 5 men on horseback circling the cabin. One of them she recognized, the drunk from December. The one Thad had shot at. He was back, and he'd brought friends. Mina's hands shook. She backed away from the window, thought fast. Thad had taught her what to do in situations like this. Lock the door. Bar the windows. Don't engage, wait them out. If they tried to break in, shoot. She moved quickly, dragged the table against the door, pushed the heavy chest under the window, loaded both rifles, positioned herself in the corner where she had a clear line of sight, and waited. The voices outside got louder. We know you're in there. Come on out. Big girl. Where's your mountain man? He leave you all alone. Laughter. Crude, mean. Mina's jaw clenched. One of them kicked the door. The table shook but held. Open up or we'll burn you out. Mina raised the rifle. Aimed at the door. You try that, and I'll shoot. Silence. Then more laughter. She's got spunk. Another kick. Harder this time. The door cracked. Mina fired, threw the door high. A warning shot. The men scattered. Crazy bitch, but they regrouped, started circling again. And then one of them lit a torch. No. Last chance. Come out or we light it up. Mina's mind raced. If she stayed inside, and they set the cabin on fire, she'd burn if she went outside. 5 against 1, she'd lose. But at least she'd have a chance. She made her decision, set down one rifle, kept the other, moved the table, opened the door, stepped out, into the snow, into the cold. The men stopped, stared. She raised the rifle. Leave. Now, the leader, the drunk, smiled. Or what? Or I shoot you. You already shot at us. Missed. I wasn't trying to hit you. Next time I will be. He laughed, started walking toward her. You got 1 shot in that rifle. There's 5 of us. You kill me. The others will get you, so put down the gun. Come peacefully. Maybe we'll be nice. Mina's finger tightened on the trigger. I said, leave. And I said. She shot him. In the leg. He went down screaming. The other 4 froze. Mina reloaded, faster than she'd ever reloaded in her life. Next one who moves gets it in the chest. Nobody moved. Get your friend. Get on your horses. And get off this mountain. One of them, younger than the others, spoke up. We We didn't mean. I don't care what you meant. Leave. Now, they scrambled, pulled their wounded friend onto a horse, rode off. Fast, Mina stood in the snow, rifle still raised, until they were gone, until she couldn't hear the hoofbeats anymore, then she collapsed. Not from injury, from adrenaline crash. She sat in the snow, shaking until finally, she stood, walked back inside, closed the door, and broke down crying. Thad got home the next evening, saw the bullet hole in the door before he even dismounted. He burst into the cabin. Mina. She was sitting by the fire, rifle across her lap. Hadn't moved in hours. I'm here. Thad crossed to her, grabbed her shoulders. What happened? They came back, the men from before, 5 of them. They tried to. They were going to burn the cabin. Thad's face went white, then red. Are you hurt? No. Did they touch you? No. I shot one. In the leg. They left. Thad pulled her to him, held her so tight she could barely breathe. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have left you. You couldn't have known. I should have. He pulled back, looked at her. You shot one? Yes, good. He stood, grabbed his rifle. What are you doing? Going after them. Thad, no. They threatened my wife. They tried to burn our home. I'm not letting that stand. They're gone. It's over. It's not over until I say it's over. Mina stood. Block the door. If you go after them, if you kill them, you'll hang. Montana law doesn't care about self-defense if you hunt a man down after the fact. I don't care. I care. Thad, please. Don't leave me again. Her voice broke. I need you here. Not in a jail cell. Not on a gallows. Here. Thad stared at her, jaw working finally. He set down the rifle. Fine. But if they come back, we'll face them together. He nodded slowly. Together. That night, Mina couldn't sleep. Every sound made her jump. Every creak of the cabin made her reach for the rifle. Thad noticed. Come here. She moved closer. He wrapped his arms around her. You're safe, I know. Then why are you shaking? Because I keep thinking. What if you hadn't come back? What if they'd succeeded? What if? But they didn't. You stopped them, barely. No, not barely. You did exactly what I taught you. You held your ground. You made the hard choice. You protected yourself. He kissed the top of her head. I'm proud of you. Mina finally relaxed, just slightly. I was so scared, I know, but I was also angry. They had no right. No, they didn't. And I wasn't going to let them take what we built. Thad smiled against her hair. That's my wife. They lay in silence. Until Mina finally fell asleep, Thad stayed awake, watching the door, watching the window, rigidity, just in case. March came with the first hints of thaw. The snow began to melt, slowly. But it melted, and with it, the isolation began to lift. Thad and Mina ventured farther from the cabin, checked trap lines that had been inaccessible all winter, walked the perimeter of their lord, planned the garden, one end. One afternoon, Thad was splitting wood. Mina was collecting water from the creek. She knelt, dipped the bucket, and felt something aflutter in her stomach. She froze, sat down the bucket, pressed her hand to her abdomen. There, again aflutter, like wings. Mina's eyes widened. No, it couldn't be. Could it? She thought back. She'd been sharing Thad's bed since late November. Her last monthly bleeding had been December. She'd thought it was just the stress, the cold, the change in routine. But what if it wasn't? Mina stood, walked back to the cabin, slowly processing. Thad looked up when she approached. You okay? I think I might be pregnant. The axe fell from his hands. What? I think. I'm not sure. But I think I might be. Thad stared at her, then crossed to her in 3 long strides. Are you serious? I felt something, just now. A flutter. And I haven't bled since December. Thad's hands shook as he placed them on her stomach. A baby? Maybe. When? When would it? When would you know for sure? If I count right, 4 months to now? Maybe 5. The baby should come in July or August. Thad laughed, actually laughed, loud and unrestrained. Then picked her up, spun her around. We're having a baby. We don't know that yet. You said you felt something. It could have been gas. That wasn't gas. He set her down, cupped her face. That was our baby. Mina's eyes filled with tears. You're happy? Happy? Mina, he couldn't find the words, so he kissed her instead, April. Mina's belly began to show just slightly, but enough to know this was real. Thad became obsessive. Wouldn't let her lift anything heavy, wouldn't let her chop wood, wouldn't let her do anything that might possibly be dangerous. Mina found it endearing and annoying. Thad, I'm pregnant. Not broken, I know. Then let me do things. I am letting you do things. Safe things. Cooking is safe, you're already doing that. Walking is safe, you're doing that too. Chopping wood is not safe. No, Mina sighed. You're going to drive me crazy. Good. Then we'll match. Despite everything, it was perfect. They spent the spring preparing, building a cradle, making baby clothes, planning for a future that, for the first time, felt real, felt certain, felt like home. May 15th, Thad was checking the north trap line. Mina was in the garden, planting seeds for the summer vegetables. She heard the horses before she saw them. Multiple horses, coming fast. Her heart sank. Not again. She stood, hand on her belly, and then 6 men rode into the clearing. But not the same men from February. These were worse, harder armed with more than rifles. The leader dismounted, tall, scarred, eyes like ice. Wilhelmina Corbett? Who's asking? Name's Silas Kern. I'm looking for Thaddeus Corbett. He's not here. When will he be back? I don't know, Silas smiled. But it wasn't friendly. That's unfortunate. 'Cause I rode a long way to see him. Why? Old business. From the war. Mina's blood ran cold. What kind of business? The kind that ends with blood. He looked at her, really looked, noticed the swell of her belly. Well, the hermit got himself a pregnant wife. How? Domestic. Mina took a step back. You need to leave, I'll leave when I'm done, you're done now. Silas laughed, you got fire. I like that. He turned to his men. We'll wait. Set up camp. Corbett has to come back eventually. You can't. Can't what? Camp on public land? Last I checked, this mountain doesn't belong to anyone. This is our property. Prove it. Mina couldn't. Because they didn't have papers. Didn't have a deed. Thad had just claimed it. The way everyone claimed land out here, by living on it. But that meant nothing to men like this. Silas gestured to his crew. Make yourselves comfortable, boys. This might take a while. Thad came back 2 hours later. Saw the camp, saw the horses, saw Mina standing in front of the cabin. He kicked his horse into a gallop. Silas stood as Thad approached. Corbett. Been a long time. Thad dismounted, positioned himself between Silas and Mina. Kern, you remember me. I'm touched. What do you want? What do I want? I want what you took from me. I didn't take anything from you. You killed my brother. Battle of Gettysburg. 1863. Thad's jaw tightened. That was war. That was murder. It was combat. He was shooting at my men. I shot back. You shot him in the back. He was retreating. That's not the same as running. Silas' expression darkened. You killed my brother, and you want revenge. I understand, so here I am. Take your shot. Silas pulled his gun. Mina screamed no. But Silas didn't fire, just smiled. Where's the fun in that? No. I think I'll make you suffer first. He gestured to Mina. Pretty wife. Baby on the way. You got everything I don't. Everything my brother will never have. Thad's hand moved to his own gun. You touch her. You die. Big words from a man outnumbered 6-1. I don't need odds to kill you. Silas laughed. You always were arrogant. Let's see if you're still fast. He drew Thad in the shoulder. Silas went down. His men raised their guns. Thad raised his. Next one drops him. Then I drop all of you. Or, you pick up your boss and leave. Your choice. The men looked at each other, looked at Silas bleeding in the dirt, looked at Thad stone-faced deadly. One of them dismount helped Silas up. This ain't over, Corbett. Yes it is. You come back, you die. That's the end of the story. They rode off. Thad didn't lower his gun until they were gone. Then he turned to Mina. Are you hurt? No. Did they touch you? No. Did they threaten you? Yes. Thad's face went dark. I should have killed him. You did the right thing? No. I let him live. That was a mistake. Mina disarmed Thad. Look at me. He did. You're not going after them, Mina. No. We're done with violence. We're done with revenge. We're starting a family. And I need you alive. Not dead, not in prison. Here. With me, Thad looked at her belly, at the life growing inside her finally. He nodded. All right. But we're not staying here, what? If Kern comes back. And he will. I need to know you're safe. So we're going to Fort Benton. Staying with someone I trust until the baby comes. We can't just leave. We can. And we will. Pack what you need. We leave at dawn. They left the next morning, rode for 2 days. Arrived in Fort Benton exhausted. Thad took them to a small house on the edge of town. Knocked. An older woman answered. Short, round. Kind eyes, Thaddeus Corbett. As I live and breathe, Mrs. Talbot, I haven't seen you in. Lord, 10 years? Something like that, and who's this? My wife, Mina. Mrs. Talbot's eyebrows shot up. You got married? I did. Well, I'll be. Come in. Come in. She ushered them inside. Fed them, listened to their story, then nodded. You'll stay here, both of you, until the baby comes. Until it's safe, we can't impose. You're not imposing. Your family. Thad looked surprised. Family. Your mother and I were friends. Before everything, when she passed. God rest her. I promised I'd look after you if you ever needed it. Seems like now you do. Thad's throat worked. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Wait till you taste my cooking. They stayed with Mrs. Talbot for 2 months. Mina's belly grew. The baby kicked. Thad felt it one night. Pressed his hand to her stomach. Felt the tiny foot push back. That's our baby. That's our baby. It's strong. Takes after you. Thad smiled. Or you. Let's hope not. I don't want our child to be as stubborn as me. I do. Stubborn means survivor. Mina leaned into him. Do you think Kern will come back? I don't know. I'm scared, I know. But I won't let anything happen to you, or our baby. I promise. And Mina believed him. Because Thaddeus Corbett kept his promises. July 4th, Independence Day. The town was celebrating fireworks. Music, dancing. Mina and Thad walked through the square, watching Mina's hand on her belly. Due date was close now. Any day, they were standing near the church when gunshots. Not fireworks, gunshots. People screamed, scattered. Thad pulled Mina behind a building. Stay here, Thad, don't. But he was already gone. Running toward the sound, Mina peeked around the corner. Saw him, Silas Kern, in the middle of the square, gun drawn. Corbett. I know you're here, Thad stepped out. I'm here. Silas smiled. Knew you'd come. Knew you couldn't resist. What do you want? I want you dead. But first, I want you to suffer, he gestured. 2 of his men dragged someone forward. Mrs. Talbot bound. Gagged. Terrified. Mina's heart stopped. Let her go. Can't do that. See, I figured out who you're staying with. Figured I'd make this interesting. She's got nothing to do with this. She's harboring you. That makes her complicit. You want me? Fine, take me. Let her go. No. That's too easy. Silas aimed his gun at Mrs. Talbot's head. You draw. I shoot her. You don't draw. I shoot you. Either way. Someone dies. Thad's jaw clenched. This is between us. It stopped being between us when you got yourself a happy life. When you got everything, my brother never will. Your brother chose to fight, just like I did. That's not my fault. It is your fault. Silas' hand shook. You killed him. You don't get to be happy. Killing me won't bring him back, no. But it'll make me feel better. He cocked the gun and Mina stepped out. Stop. Both men turned. Thad's face went white. Mina, get back. No. She walked forward, hands raised. You want revenge? Fine, but not like this. Silas stared at her. What are you doing? I'm giving you a choice. Him, 1 life. That's it. Then you leave. Forever. You get your revenge. But it ends. Mina, no. Shut up, Thad. She looked at Silas, him or me. Choose. Silas looked between them, at Thad. Desperate, terrified, at Mina. Calm. Certain, you'd really die for him? Yes, why? Because he's my husband, the father of my child, and I love him. Silas's gun wavered. You're insane, maybe. But I'm also the only person here giving you a way out that doesn't end with you dead or in prison. I could shoot you both. You could. But then you'd have to live with killing a pregnant woman. Is your revenge worth that? Long silence. Finally, Silas lowered his gun. This is stupid. Probably. You're both idiots. Definitely, he holstered his weapon. I'm leaving. But if I ever see either of you again— You won't, he gestured to his men. They released Mrs. Talbot, mounted their horses. Silas looked at Thad one last time. Your wife's braver than you. Then they rode off. Thad ran to Mina. Are you insane? Yes. You could have died, but I didn't. What if he'd shot you? But he didn't, Mina. She kissed him. It's over. We're safe. That's all that matters. Thad held her. Too tight. Don't ever do that again. I can't promise that. Promise anyway. Fine, I promise. To try not to sacrifice myself for you again, that's not the same thing. It's the best you're getting. Despite everything, Thad laughed. You're impossible. You married me anyway. Best decision I ever made. That night, Mina went into labor. 12 hours later. Their daughter was born. Small, loud, perfect. Thad held her, stared at her, couldn't speak, just stared. Mina watched him. What should we name her? I don't know. We have to call her something. Thad looked up, eyes bright. Emma. After my mother, Mina smiled. Emma Corbett. I like it. Thad handed the baby back. Sat on the edge of the bed. We made a person. We did. A whole person. Yep, that's terrifying, Mina laughed. It really is. They sat silent, Tom, watching their daughter sleep, and for the first time, both of them understood this. This was what they'd been fighting for, not just survival, but this family, home, love. They returned to the cabin in August, with Emma, with supplies, with hope. The years that followed were everything: hard winters, hot summers, 5 children total. Emma, then Jacob, then Sarah, then Ruth, then Daniel. The cabin expanded. The garden flourished. Thad's hair turned white. Mina's hands grew weathered, but the way he looked at her never changed. And when he was 77 years old, sitting on the porch of the life they built, he would think about everything. 1924. Thad Corbett sat on the porch of the cabin, now much larger than it had been, now with 2 additional rooms. A real kitchen. Glass windows. He was 77 years old, his hair completely white, his hands gnarled with arthritis. But his eyes were still sharp. He watched the sun set over the mountain, the same mountain he'd climbed 42 years ago. Alone, broken, running from ghosts now. Now the cabin was full, 5 children, all grown, all with families of their own, 12 grandchildren, noise, laughter, life. Mina walked out, older now too, gray-haired, rounder, but still her. She sat beside him. You're thinking, I'm always thinking, about what? About everything. He reached for her hand. About how I almost didn't write that letter. But you did. I did. And you came. I did. You lied about your photograph. I did. Best lie I ever fell for. Mina smiled. You didn't fall for it. You saw right through it. And I chose you anyway. You did. Thad squeezed her hand. I'd choose you again every time. Good. Because you're stuck with me. I can live with that. They sat in silence, watching the sunset, until Thad spoke again. Mina. Yes? I love you. I know. I need you to know that these last 40 years they've been everything. Mina's eyes filled. Thad, just let me say it. He turned to her. I was dead when you arrived. Dead inside. Going through motions. And you brought me back to life. You did the same for me. Then we saved each other. We did. Thad kissed her hand. Thank you. For saying yes. For staying. For everything. Mina leaned against him. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. They sat like that, until the sun disappeared. Until the stars came out. Until one of the grandchildren called them in for dinner. Thad died 3 months later, in his sleep, peacefully, with Mina beside him. At his funeral, all 5 children spoke. All 12 grandchildren. All of them with stories about the man who'd taught them to hunt, to shoot, to survive. The man who'd never raised his voice, never raised his hand. The man who loved their grandmother so fiercely that, even at 77, he looked at her like she was the only woman in the world. Mina didn't speak, just sat, holding Emma's hand, listening, learning who her husband had been to everyone else. When it was over, when everyone left, she stayed standing by his grave, on the hillside above the cabin, where he could see everything they'd built. "You promised me 40 years, she whispered. "You gave me 42, thank you." She placed a hand on the headstone. "I'll see you soon," then walked back down the hill, back to the cabin, back to the life they'd built, and waited. Mina lived another 15 years, died in 1939, at 87, surrounded by children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Her last words were, "Tell him I'm coming." They buried her next to Thad on the hillside, where they could both see the valley. The headstone reads, Thaddeus and Wilhelmina Corbett, T-847, 1924, and 1852, 1939 he ordered, a wife she came, with a lead 80 built, a liffey together always. And if you drive through Montana today, through the wilderness west of Fort Benton, you can still find the cabin, rettered now, maintained by the Historical Society, a monument to two people who started as became partners, became lovers, became everything. The museum guide will tell you the story about the mountain man and the mail-order bride, about the lie that started it all, about 42 years of marriage, 5 children, 1 great love. And she'll tell you that sometimes the best things in life are the things we never ordered, the things that show up and refuse to be what we expected, the things that, against all odds, against all logic, turn out to be exactly what we needed.